mute them. But I think we're now set up. It's 2 p.m. German time, 1 p.m. UK time. So welcome, everyone. Welcome in this room as well. Hi, everyone. As mentioned earlier, I don't want to ramble too much before we start, because we really have 4 presentations in 50 minutes. This is the session on ERM Experience Exchange, and we have 4 presentations and some people who have volunteered to present today, which is really great. And we may have some minutes in between to ask questions and discuss. You can always put your questions in the chat, and we will find a way to answer these questions either via a document that we will share. And everybody that's presenting has agreed to come back to a future ERM-SIG meeting if we need more discussion time and more time for questions. So that's really great as well. Thank you all for that. And as mentioned, no rambling. We have the first 2 presenters that are Karina and Beate, both working at the States Library in Berlin. That's an institution in a consortium where the consortium I'm working for, that's GBV. So they are one of 200 institutions and now presenting how they add resources to their FOLIO system. So please take it away. We don't see your slides so far.
Okay. Yep, I haven't shared yet, but I hope. So can everyone see the slides now?
Yes, we can see the slides. Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
I give it a start. Thank you very much for introducing us, Martina. And we're very happy to be with you this afternoon. And we'll start right away. So as you can see, we talk a little about our changes to manage our e-resources, or better to work new e-resources into our system since we introduced FOLIO ERM. Could you? Thank you. So maybe it's very easy, you know it all. So the acquisition librarians, they're used to negotiate the licenses. We do up the conditions, pricing, invoicing, all that's needed in collaboration with a whole group that's doing the processing. So that means introducing the metadata, cataloging, and so forth, integration into our discovery. So then, as we are a very big house, you can say, we divide up further. So we are one group for the e-books, then there is a group looking after the databases, and so forth. So what did we used to do? Very important, also already before FOLIO ERM, a very open communication to really pass on all the information everybody needs actually to introduce our new resources into the house. So we fill in a template, gather all the necessary information. That might be the emails, the documents, the licenses, the everything which is necessary in the future to recognize what we have to do with those products. Our colleagues in the processing team would introduce that into a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, which was growing until last year to round about 102 columns and way over 500 rows. So it became actually quite difficult to manage all this, and there were times when also this table was simply collapsing. Maybe as far as that. And I pass on to Karina.
Okay, so now since we introduced FOLIO ERM, or because of the size this file grow into, introducing FOLIO ERM was very much embraced with our colleagues. So now at the moment it is that we have 273 entries in our licensing app in FOLIO. The number is actually wrong. I had a look this morning. We have now 637 entries in the agreements app. We have 160 entries in our organization app. And we have reworked, so the licensing template we had in the past, we now reworked it to match the fields in Folio. And the ERM spreadsheet has been retired in this summer. So we are now getting into our renewal season. So e-resources renewal is underway. And so this is the new workflow basically that we use right now. So what we are doing right now is pretty similar actually to what we did in the past. It is that or one of the major differences is that we decided that the acquisitions librarians would be the ones to create the entry in the licensing app, mostly because we decided they are the people negotiating the licenses, so they are the ones who have most insight into what to enter into the entries. There is still a lot of information that needs to that we need about the products, so the template needs to be filled in. And as in the past, they would also forward all the relevant documents to the easy resource processing team. So all the whole license, the invoice, all relevant communications about it. On the other hand, the e-source processing team, they would create the entry in the agreements app and enter all relevant information. They would enter identification numbers. So our system or our license entries contain some identifiers that we use internally, but the identifier can only be created by the by the e-resource processing team. So they are the ones who would go into the license later on and add this information. And they also upload, the e-resource processing team will also upload all the relevant documentation to our document administration software. And this is, of course, in case of a new resource that would be licensed. And if the new resource would also need a new entry in the organizations app, we decided to do it by a first encountered, first created kind of way, because sometimes it is that the processing team will be in contract with a vendor first, so they are the ones who create the organization, but sometimes it's the acquisitions librarians, so we just need to communicate about it that an entry is already available. So, and with the renewal, it is pretty similar to a new product where it's more that the license, the entry in the licensing app and the and setting up a new template for the product will only be necessary if there is a significant change to the product. So if it's just the renewal of a database, which we already have, and the license information and everything is just the same, and only the duration is extended. In this case, yeah, no template would be needed, and no change would be made to the licensing app. But still, any relevant documentation or relevant documents would need to be forwarded to the e-resource processing team. Additionally, oh, sorry, that was too fast. Of course, the e-resource processing team, they would update the entry in the agreements app. So they would extend the subscription date, and create, depending on the kind of resource we have to renew. We also have a different approach. For example, with databases, we said that we would keep the entry and just add the or change the runtime. But with, for example, ebook packages, we decided to create a new entry in the e-management app, because we said this is something completely separated from what it used to be in the past, so it needs a new entry. Yeah, otherwise it stays pretty similar. So all relevant documentation needs to be uploaded, and in case of a new organization, it just needs to be added as well. Yeah, in conclusion, I don't know, Beate, if you want to take this one.
Well, it's very easy. Yes, we started in the renewal season, as Karina already said, and first feedback from all our colleagues is, well, it's very easy, it works. All the thinking about it and all the discussion about it was good. To do it with everyone, as we were saying, for us it was very important to do this very openly, to discuss every step we do, and the next couple of weeks, but there will be coming many renewals. So it's sort of our stress test. And after that, we are happy to review the whole process and see again how things were going. But up to now, we can say it seems to work so far. Maybe you wanted to have an idea what we're talking about, this
template. I will show it in a second. It's just there is a screenshot of it, but I will show it afterwards as well.
Yes, as you can see, we had already one of those templates for many years. It kept growing. As you know, there's always more information one needs to present. Now what we did, what you can see in green, they're actually the actual fields in Folio, and with those drop downs you can actually choose the values we added for each of those fields. So you don't need to type them in, and you can actually not make any mistakes. So yeah. And
here you
behind,
can see
and behind there are all those values added. This is flexible, of course, and it is, well, we have to add already a few that were missing, but that's not a problem. As we know, there is a flexibility which we stress.
Also, maybe to point out, just because, it's in German, of course, but for example, over here it says that all relevant information is in the licensing app. So instead of entering the information over here, it just indicates where to find it in Folio.
And this is very important. Yeah, maybe so far.
Oh, sorry. One.
Thank you.
So, and of course, I mean, you will get access to the files, but we have a general email address where you can also reach us if there are any questions.
That's very cool. Thank you both. Do we have any immediate questions? Because we have 2 minutes before we continue with the next one. The slides will be provided via SCAD, so you can access them afterwards, and there you have the email address from the States Library as well. There are no questions in the room so far, to let you know, and we have nothing in chat, I think. So maybe if people want to think about something they want to ask these two, you can do maybe in the last 5 minutes. Giving one more second, 2, 3. Okay, Nadia, then it would be your turn. Nadia is another colleague from our network. She's working in the Ibero-American Institute in Berlin as well, and they have a special task, so Nadia will tell you more about it. Just one note, whenever we say e-management, we mean agreements. That's our German translation, just for you to know. And thank you, Nadia, it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Martina. So I'm going to give my presentation. So thank you, Martina. Hello, my name is Nadia Ronisch. I'm a librarian at the Ibero-Amerikanisches Institut. I am responsible for electronic resources and therefore also in charge of introducing FOLIO ERM at our library. I was asked to present today our workflow in FOLIO ERM and GoKB for ebooks purchased in Pick and Choose. So a short introduction first of the Ibero-Amerikanisches Institut. The Ibero-American Institute in Berlin, which is a part of the Prussian Cultural Heritage Foundation, like the Staatsbibliothek zu Berlin, is an interdisciplinary center for academic and cultural exchange between Germany and Latin America, the Caribbean, Spain, and Portugal. It was founded in 1930 and consists of a research center, a cultural center, and an information center. And the library is the largest specialist library for the Ibero-American region in Europe. We have about 3,500 users and hold more than 1.2 million books in print and about 44,000 ebooks. So there's still a focus on print, but numbers of e-resources are growing constantly. We have about 80 permanent and project-based positions, about 50 of those positions in the library. While I am the only e-resources librarian, there are 4 to 5 other colleagues occasionally processing ebooks and pick and choose. So we started with FOLIO ERM in 2022 and went live in the summer of 2023. And from the beginning on, we looked at GoKB as well. One of our requirements for an ERM was to have an overview of all our e-resources in one system. And then one of our goals was to enable more colleagues to use FOLIO in their day-to-day work and get used to the system. Also with regard to the planned conversion from the current local library system to FOLIO in the future. So one focus was on a workflow for individual titles, pick and choose. So in preparation, we created agreements for pick and choose by publisher and then created local packages and imported keyboard files by publisher in the GoKB. So those are then all the titles that we bought from one publisher. And we created a title list from the catalog. We took this title list, combined it with a keyboard template, and created a keyboard file with the help of OpenRefine, and then imported this keyboard file in GoKB. So then the local packages are in turn added to the respective agreements as agreement lines in the e-management app. So I would like to go and show you in the system how we did that. So just a moment. I hope you can see FOLIO now.
Yeah, we see FOLIO.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, so we have our agreements here, and for instance, this is one of the pick and choose agreements that we created. Now it's keeping a while until it's loading. So we have a name convention, we take the publisher, the product group, and the acquisition type that we have here. We have the internal contacts, of course, the license, the organization connected to all of it. We have the supplementary properties, which are the regional working groups who are adding to those agreement lines. And then, of course, we have the agreement line here that we created and all the e-resources that are in this agreement. So now I'm going to go to, oh, I'm sorry, the to see in the GoKB. So in GoKB, we create, as I told you, the packages. And then we, with those preparations that we had, we enabled the colleagues now to take over and add single titles to those existing pick and choose packages. So the colleagues are choosing a package they need. Either they take out the curatory group or even put in the name, and they have to select the validity local. And they search for the packages. So, so I keep with this example, the De Gruyter package. So we could edit this package now. And what the colleagues are doing now is they can add single titles to this one package with this menu. And so either a new, so the required information is taken from the catalog data, and either a new reference title is created or an existing reference title is used and supplemented with the information from the new title. So at the moment, there are still only a few reference titles for monographs in the GoKB, but so in most cases, the title must be entered again. So, and then the mandatory fields are filled. The platform, of course, is automatically filled. Then we put in the access URL. We also put in the start date and the access type, which is usually paid. And we add a identifier, at least one identifier is needed. So we don't fill out the rest of the fields. Then you put in add. I'm not going to do it here at the moment, obviously. So you select the add button and then get already a success message and can confirm the whole thing. So now those titles are come back to Folio via the interface. At the moment, we experience that it's keeping quite a while before the titles are here. So at the moment, so that our colleagues get a better overview of Folio, they are asked to look in the local KB to look for the title that they are added in GoKB. So this is why we realized that it's keeping quite a couple of days before they arrive in Folio. So this would be one of our wishes, that this process is getting a little quicker. So yeah, what else? We see that one example here, one title that we have, and there's a possibility to add it to the package if it wasn't already a part of a package, of course. So this is very nice. And actually, one of our wishes would be that our colleagues only had to work in Folio and could add the titles to the respective agreements only there. Of course, this will only be possible if there's enough data, a certain database, so more data coming from the GoKB. So, and then we are aware that this is a workaround at the moment, so that we have the pick and choose workflow in our house, and actually with GoKB and Folio, there are 2 steps added to it. But we do hope with a bigger database, and then also with the connection to other apps as the acquisition app, then we imagine that there are more connections possible, so that the workflow is shorter than hopefully in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nadia. Any questions?
So is there a knowledge base that you're taking and choosing these titles from, or are you having to enter the titles in each time?
There is the question whether there is a knowledge base in the background. Like when the workflows in our GBB network are that people are uploading their packages to an external knowledge base, which is the GoKB. And there is what Nadia described, that they are adding individual titles to the packages they have already uploaded to the GoKB, which are then imported to Folio automatically if you connect an external source. And that's what we're doing in our network. And I think, Nadia, when you mentioned you want to be able to add titles to agreements individually, you mean not as agreement lines, but as parts of a package, right? Because
Yeah.
you can add titles to as agreement lines.
Exactly. So that would be nice in the future, yes.
Okay, one more question. There is nothing in chat. Take a chance. We see another pick and choose example, I think, by Lisa. So thank you, Nadia. Lisa, are you ready to start?
Yes, I am. I do not have a truly a presentation. I will show it in our system and explain a bit, and it's not quite so long like the other ones. So
Good.
yes, I want to tell you about pick and choose and single ebooks. I'm Lisa Wolf. I'm a librarian of the Technical University Würzburg-Schweinfurt, and I'm one of 2 people responsible for our e-resources. So, how to do?
There is a green button at the bottom.
Yes, I know. I just...
It's starting. And now we see an
Yes.
orange bar.
Good. This is our folio. So, it's quite simple, actually. If we buy pick and choose ebooks, that's the job of our boss. He compiles a pick and choose title list and sends it to us, so to the ERM team and the supplier as well. I take those information, create an Excel list out of the titles and everything else, and that gets sent to our cataloging with the reference. This is a pick and choose list, have fun.
Lisa, one
They-
question. Can you hear me? Can you
Yes.
make it bigger, the screen, a full screen, or make it a bit bigger?
I'll try. No. No, it,
Okay, is it okay for you? Can you see okay? Yep.
I'll try. It's not quite working.
Thank you, Lisa.
I knew how, but not at the moment. No. Okay.
Sorry for interrupting. Now I brought you out of the concept. Sorry for that.
Yeah, I knew how, but at the moment it doesn't work.
Yes,
Quite.
just my question. Sorry.
So, where was I? Our colleagues, they are cataloging the links or catalog the individual ebooks in Aleph. They add the BV number to my Excel list, and then the information gets to acquisition, and they create an order line for every single ebook in the pick and choose list in the order app. And the link to the main order gets sent back to us, to ERM, and we put it here into the description field. Should work, but at the moment it doesn't want to. There we can jump into the acquisition order if we want to check something like how much did the ebook costs or something similar. And then we create an unlinked agreement line in our agreement. And yes, in this form, the publisher, it's an order and the date, the actual date. We put the link into the description field, And we have a second agreement line that actually is in the GoPB. And we update this agreement line every few months. And then all our licensed ebooks is in Folio as well. Yes. So it's not quite complicated and actually very simple. Yes. Then our single ebooks, it's a bit different. At first, Acquisition buys a single ebook, and we get the notice that we have a new ebook now. And then we create an unlinked agreement line again with the information, the author, the title, the ISBN, and the link. Again, in the description field, because I learned it's quite a bit faster if we want to check something in the ebook. It's easier than to go looking for the email if you have here the link. And every year we create a new agreement. Here we have Gobi 2024, and next year we will have a new agreement, Gobi 2025. Yes. We are not quite sure how many single ebooks we have every year. I believe around 70. We will see in the end of the year. We use our REM part of Folio since last year fall, so September, October. And our old system was our wiki. I can show it. It looks like this. We are at the moment doing all our work twice because we use the wiki and the Folio part for as a safety net. And now there we have what packages did we buy, and in the last few years we just bought Pick and Choose by Scholar, and yeah. Yes, if you have questions, you can start. Otherwise, I'm done.
Thank you, Lisa. And now I'm sorry, I forgot to tell people where you work. Did you do that? I'm not sure. Yes, you did. Okay.
Yes, I think I did.
Sorry for forgetting that. Any questions? A bit different than what Nadia did. And Owen has a question.
For the way you showed the agreement where you'd linked the package, and you have two agreement lines. One was an unlinked agreement line, and one was the package. Were those two agreement lines represent the same thing? Were they two different things?
Yes and no. The unlinked agreement line is the actual package our boss created in July. There were around about 40 titles. But the linked agreement line is every single ebook we got since the first. So at the moment, around about 2,400 titles. That's from last year still. So that's all we have, and the unlinked agreement line is what we bought in the different months.
More questions? I don't see any hands here and nothing in chat. Thank you, Lisa. And as mentioned, I hope that we have more time to do detailed demos in future ERM SIG meetings, but now we have Zorian from EBSCO.
I don't do it on that.
You can do it here? Okay, perfect.
Go out to the browser.
Yes, just
Okay, just
yeah, just help yourself. Nothing secret.
Sorry, everyone. I'm taking a moment.
Take your time. I have enough time.
I do not have a PowerPoint. I'm going to be demoing just like the last person.
No, there you go.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go back. Is it? All right, it's showing?
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Zorian Sasek. I am a FOLIO implementation consultant at EBSCO, but you may know me from the community. I participate a lot in the ERM SIG. I do a lot of, I convene the e-holdings kind of subgroup. So kind of my specialization on my implementation team is doing ERM implementations. I've done ERM librarianship for 10 years before I worked at EBSCO. So I kind of wanted to just do a demo of a specific area. I'm going to talk about the dashboard app and kind of how I've implemented a few dozen libraries now on ERM specifically, and just kind of based on their feedback and what they've asked for, kind of develop this sort of workflow. So hopefully won't take very long. I know we are kind of running up on time. So I'm going to go to the dashboard app. And
you can close the speaker window if you want to, or nonetheless.
Yeah.
Just
okay. All right. Let's see. Why is there so many? Here we go. Okay. So, we can use the dashboard to kind of filter a bit more, I don't want to say more sophisticated, but more fixed dynamic list than just filtering within the agreements search or agreement line search. So a few examples of how I've seen libraries use this is the most common use is using the dashboard app and agreements to track upcoming renewals. So you can set up the dashboard to, and I'm just going to go into the settings of this one. I'm not going to set it up from scratch in front of you all, because that'll be laborious. But this is an agreement line or agreement-based widget, and I have it set up to filter by end date. So the period end date. This assumes that the period end date is in the agreement record. It's not required like the start date. So this assumes that you've done the work to put that in there. And we're using end date as kind of, we're assuming that end date corresponds to the last day of your contract before you have to renew. Not necessarily, it's not exactly the same thing as the cancellation date or the cancellation period like this. It can be a little bit different, but this is, for simplicity's sake, we're kind of assuming the end date is the end date.
And you set up the first rule to be on or before a relative date, and you set your date out. Sometimes you could do 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120. I have 120 in this particular example because there's not a ton. This is a test tenant that has a lot of data that I didn't have time to go through. So, and we're kind of in the last quarter of the year. So it's not quite enough. I had to go to 120 to get to like January 1, and that's a common date. So 120 days after today, and this is relative, so this is dynamic. So whatever date you're looking at it, it's 120. Every agreement with an end date in the next 120 days from that date is going to show up. And then we do an and Boolean add a second filter, and that second filter is merely to say end date on or after today. So it's not going to show agreements that expired like 2 years ago. This is that. And then just for displaying results, I just have the agreement name, the organization, so the vendor, start date, and the end date. So what this does is it gives you a dynamic list of what is coming up for renewal. And it is useful for folks who are, a lot of the libraries that I've worked with have never had an ERM system or really like a formal way of doing things. And this is a way, what the basic things is I want to just keep track of what's coming up instead of just using a spreadsheet, and filtering by date in the spreadsheet. So this is kind of the Folio way of doing it. And you can do this search in the agreements app, of course, but it's not database. You have to rerun it every single time and select all that date logic every single time. This allows you to actually have a URL that you can send. You can even have it bookmarked on your computer, and you can just check it. Unfortunately, Folio does not send notifications for workflow type stuff. I know that's like a topic that comes up. And that would be a nice addition to this if Folio supported that. But this is a pretty handy thing to, you just kind of look at this every day or once a week or whatever your workflow is. And that you have to initiate conversation with that vendor, or, it's just, maybe it's not really a conversation, you just tell your purchasing office to renew it and send the money of whatever scenario you have. So that's one example of a renewals dashboard that kind of supports an ongoing workflow. I have 2 other dashboards I wanted to show, and they are kind of, I want to say that they're both cleanup after like a migration to ERM. If you're moving a bunch of data, using APIs to import agreements in the beginning, or you just want to keep track of your data over time. So let's say you've had Folio for 2 or 3 years, you've gone through 2 or 3 renewal adds, cancel cycles, and you want to make sure that kind of all the data is there, because I very much believe, at least myself, that the power of Folio ERM is like the more data you put into it and the more connections you make and the more you maintain that, the stronger that the system is, the more useful it is. So agreements without AGL stands for agreement lines. I'm using, this is an EBSCO tenant, so it's not using the local KB, it's not using GoKB, it's using eHoldings, which as the agreement line source for external agreement lines. So what this is for is to kind of show what agreement lines you have, or what agreements you have that have not been linked to an agreement line. So in the case of an eHoldings folio, that is, your agreement is not attached to its respective HLM package that shows up in that knowledge base. And you want to ideally have that connection, because that connection is kind of, in my belief at least, the connection between the back-end metadata, like the login and the renewal information and the contact information for troubleshooting, and like access, like link resolving and stuff that you handle in the other external knowledge base. So this is a dynamic list that kind of keeps track of like which ones you maybe need to follow up on that with. Sometimes there's not really an easy way for migrating into Folio where it makes those connections automatically, because your agreements are not necessarily exactly the same thing as a package in a knowledge base. They can be, it depends on a lot of things. So there's not really like an easy way to match magically. So this just kind of allows us to, we can go through this list, click academic search Premier, see that it doesn't have a agreement line. We're just clicking into the agreement. So that means we can follow up and this is eHoldings. You're looking at the eHoldings app, academic search, Premier, and it is selected. So we're going to go in and actually add it. And so it's now attached. So if we go back to that, let's see. We go back to that dashboard and should refresh it. Should take it off. Unless I didn't link it.
Is that the right one? The right?
Yeah, it should be.
No, it expired.
Is it expired? No, it's active. Yeah, it has the green line. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not updating in the dashboard.
That's the renewals widget.
Oh, yeah, why? Yep. So yes, thank you. Sorry. I don't even have an excuse of jet lag because I've been here 3 days, so that's on me. So you see, I removed it from the list. So you can work if you have like, I don't know if it's the summer, if you're in an academic library, things are slower, at least in North America, it's usually the slow time. You have a project to kind of make sure your data is cleaned up. You can constantly have this and go through and make sure everything is followed up on. So it's more of like a cleanup project tool than like a management. But I think management, long-term resource management involves that kind of work and keeping up with that. And then finally, I have a third dashboard, and this is one where I'm going to talk about a little bit about what I wish the dashboard app could do. So this is the license. This is a license terms-based dashboard, and I know you can do a fair amount of searching in the licenses app. You can search for licenses with a specific license term, right? But kind of along the same lines as like the agreement line cleanup dashboard. What if I want to see a list of all of my agreements? Well, I'll start with one example. I want to see all licenses with a specific usage term. Like I want to see all of my licenses that support interlibrary loan. There's not, or see the ones that don't have it, I guess. Because those are the ones you need to go look at the license again and make sure. There's not really a way to do that with either the dashboard app or the license app. And that would be a cool thing to add. I know that, I've talked a little bit, I've talked with Owen a little bit about like the whys and why nots of what you can and cannot display easily here. Another thing I was thinking of that could be useful would be to see what agreements have licenses attached or not, using kind of this, once again, the same logic of like, well, what agreements do I need to make sure there's a license for? And if it doesn't have a license, go negotiate one or find one or commence a deep search in file cabinets or whatever your institution has. So once again, these are like kind of long-term electronic resource projects that libraries, I think, find themselves once they've got like the basic electronic resource management system set up, like they've been on live and FOLIO for a year or two. When they went live, they did not have all their licenses neatly stacked in a digital OCR file with all the license terms neatly pulled out in a spreadsheet to put in. They're kind of doing it one by one by one. Having that functionality in the dashboard app or in the dashboard app and or the license app would, I think, support that kind of project work without doing a lot of manual clicking back and forth between the app, various apps and various records. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, do we have questions in the room? Or can you check in the chat maybe?
Oh, yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me? I've raised my hand. I can put it down again. I just want to say thank you, and I would also like to second what you said about like expanding on what the dashboards can do and can provide. I know it's a grievance we have, or we already mentioned it several times with Martina, but she said it might be a good idea to mention this here as well. with the dashboards because we have established a lot of supplementary, what are they called? Supplementary properties, I think is the English term.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and so we have a lot of them in our agreements and in our licensing. But it would be really nice if we could filter in the dashboards based on those supplementary properties, because it would make filtering, it's a lot more granular, because I mean we have more than 600 agreements, and if we just set the renewal date, or we only have like based on renewal date, it would still be 200 agreements in that list, and so we would need additional filters to make it more easier to handle, and of course to also provide it to our different groups. And also, I mean, maybe something that would also be interesting if in the long run, like usage would be, is usage already available in, or that you can include it in the dashboards, or is it not possible?
You mean e-usage app results?
Yeah, so for example, I could also see the products or the agreements that need to be renewed, as well as their usage.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we have that raised in our network, definitely, so somewhere in our Jira, but that would be something that we would need to discuss. I don't know, in the ERM SIG or even with the usage team. I don't know. That's listed. I've noted that mentally.
I could think even adding on to that, having the ability to see which what platforms need to have usage set up still, right? You have a list, and there might be ones that don't have it set up, and you're running usage, and it's actually not everything you have. So kind of once again, like a cleanup oriented thing.
Sounds like it's going to have put together.
Yeah, I think that sorry, here. So supplementary properties is definitely one that we've discussed and I know about, and there are some known challenges from the development perspective, but it definitely feels like that's something that we can get to. I mean, with some time and effort. The usage we haven't discussed, I think, in detail, and we need to, because obviously when you start talking about usage, say for an agreement line, then an agreement line for a package, what's the, like, you have to start deciding how you're summing up that usage and what are the key, measures that you want to display, and that is done in the agreements app at the moment. So you go and look at the agreement, you get that, but obviously you have more space to put more detail there. If you're using that is if you're using the integration with the usage app and that information will display. But yes, it would be worth us having a discussion.
I'm just having a glance at my watch, and we are 3 minutes over the time, and we already joining who are, I don't think, want to attend that session. So thank you all. I will copy the chat so that we have it and keep it. Thank you all. Thanks for sorry.
Hey, thank you. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Yeah, goodbye.